Keith Springer, our Fox 40 financial analyst with Smart Money. And first of all, what's the Dow doing so far this morning, Keith?
Well, we're up kind of nicely. We had a little bit of good news between Boehner and the House. The congressmen are talking, so if we have a little positive news, stocks will soar higher. If we get a disappointing news, it may sell off a bit. So far, so good.
All right, something I know the market watches very closely is unemployment benefits claims, and we have new numbers this morning, right?
We do. Unemployment claims came down a little bit, right where they were expected. Hurricane Sandy had pushed them, sort of skewed them a little bit over the last few weeks, but it's coming back to normal. Still pretty high, though. 390,000 first-time claims. Not really picking up as fast as, of course, the administration wants or we all want, but, you know, definitely a step in the right direction.
Okay.
A lot of people upset about, you know, Apple and their maps, and we know now that the manager of those maps was fired. What does this mean now for Apple?
Well, Eddie Q was in charge of their maps, and they just didn't like it. It just didn't really work. I guess it had a lot of glitches. I used it on my trip to Boston last week quite a bit. Didn't find a whole lot of problems, but a lot of landmarks are not there, and public transportation isn't there. So they've got competition. Google is going to develop, or is about to release, a map program for the iPhone. So they got a little bit of competition right there. So.
A Google app, I think that's funny. Let me just ask you this in closing. When somebody gets the boot like that, I assume it could be because they were incompetent at their job. As a financial guy, do you think, you know what, they had to sacrifice somebody? They had to throw somebody under the bus to satisfy the markets that they're doing something about a problem?
It's absolutely something like that. And let's face it, when you're in a position like that, probably making millions of tens of millions, the pressure comes with the job. You either succeed and you move higher, or if you don't, you're canned. And there's nowhere in between. Steve Jobs is one of the toughest CEOs ever in the history of America, but he made a great company, and they just have a low tolerance.
And they're following in his footsteps. Well, if you've got questions for Keith Springer, that guy right there would be happy to answer them for you. Thanks, Keith. You can send your questions to money@fox40.com. You can also call him up and hire him at 916-925-8900. And there's his website address, keithspringer.com. You can sign up and get his newsletter every week. It's always interesting.
And if you're wondering what the roads are like, let's turn it over.